What if your best friend wrote down every one of your secrets without telling you? That question hit me the second I saw Lena's notebook open on the desk. Pages spread like tiny traps. I wasn't supposed to see anything, but the way she snapped it shut, like she was hiding a crime, sent a chill through me. I had only agreed to help her with her thesis because I trusted her, because she made it sound simple, harmless, just a few tasks for her research. But the way she watched me today, too focused, too eager, felt wrong. It was like she was waiting for me to break. And when she asked me that oddly personal question, the one she should have known to ask, I felt something shift. Like the ground under our friendship wasn't solid anymore. I didn't know it yet, but that moment was the first crack. I tried brushing it off, telling myself I was overthinking. Lena always acted serious about school. It wasn't strange for her to take notes or ask questions. It was practically her personality. But something about the way she avoided my eyes when I asked what she was writing didn't feel like the Lena I knew. She changed the subject too fast, laughed too quickly, like she was running from the truth. The uneasiness followed me out of the room, clinging to me long after the door shut behind us. Later that day, Lena texted me like nothing weird had happened. She wanted to run another quick task with me tomorrow. I stared at my screen, feeling a knot tighten in my stomach. Why was I suddenly nervous around my own friend? It felt like she knew something about me I hadn't realized I'd revealed. Something she wasn't supposed to know. Noah noticed before I admitted it. He always picked up on shifts I tried to hide. I told him something felt off with Lena, and instead of laughing it off, he just frowned and asked, "What did she do?" That question alone told me I wasn't imagining things. Someone else saw the change too. That night, I told myself I was being dramatic. Lena wasn't the type to hurt people. She just cared too much about her work. But deep down, something whispered that this wasn't just about school or research. Something was wrong. And the worst part was that I didn't know what she was really writing in that notebook. The next day, Lena acted like everything was perfectly normal. She greeted me with that same neat smile, the one that always made her seem so in control. But the second we started the task, I felt it again, that strange shift, like she was waiting for a specific reaction. She asked me questions that dug deeper than they should have, then paused, really watching me, like she was taking notes in her head. My skin prickled. It didn't feel like help anymore. It felt like an experiment. She told me the questions were standard, but nothing about them felt standard. They were too specific, too personal, like she already knew what would hurt and was waiting to see how I responded. Every time I hesitated, she watched me too closely. And when I finally answered, she wrote something down without even breaking eye contact. My stomach twisted. This wasn't friendship anymore. It was observation. When we left the building, I tried to shake it off again. But Noah caught sight of me before I could hide how shaken I felt. He asked what Lena had me doing. And when I explained, even the small parts, his face changed. He didn't call me dramatic. He didn't laugh. He told me straight up, "That doesn't sound like research. That sounds like she's testing you." Hearing him say it out loud made everything feel suddenly real. That evening, I kept replaying the moment. Lena asked that too personal question. It was like she reached into a part of me I hadn't shared with anyone. How did she even know to ask that? And why write something down so quickly? The uneasiness crept into everything I did. Even the silence in my room felt different, heavier, like it was waiting for me to figure out something I wasn't ready to see. By the time night fell, I realized something important. I didn't feel safe around Lena anymore. Not because she was dangerous, but because she was studying me in ways I didn't understand. And the worst part, I kept trying to convince myself it wasn't happening. I kept protecting her more than I protected myself. That was the first sign something was deeply wrong. The next few days felt different, not because anything dramatic happened, but because everything small did. Lena kept slipping questions into normal conversations, subtle ones, the kind that didn't seem strange until I replayed them later. And every time I answered, She'd get this look, like she was confirming something she already suspected. I started noticing patterns, the timing, the tone, the way she watched my reactions more than my word. It wasn't paranoia anymore, it was a pattern. And once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. It wasn't just the questions. Sometimes she'd say something oddly personal, something I never told her. And when I asked how she knew, she'd laugh it off, claiming I must have mentioned it before. But I knew I had. Every time she brushed it aside, it felt like losing a little more trust. I started keeping track in my head, like building a map of every moment she crossed a line without admitting it. Noah kept checking in on me, and every time he asked how I was doing, the answer sounded worse out loud. When I told him Lena knew something she shouldn't, he didn't even hesitate before saying we should look deeper. His certainty scared me a little, but it also made me feel less alone, like I wasn't imagining the shift happening around me. The more I thought about it, the more the memories connected. Every strange question, every moment she wrote something down, every time her expression flickered like she was reading me instead of talking to me, it all lined up too perfectly. I realized I wasn't just uncomfortable. I was being studied, and she wasn't hiding it very well anymore. But the moment that broke everything happened in the hallway outside Lena's department office. I was waiting for her, and she didn't notice me at first. She was talking to someone on the phone, sounding stressed, whispering fast, and I heard her say it my name, followed by the words data, consistency. That's when my heart dropped. She wasn't being careless. She was studying me on purpose. I didn't plan to follow Lena. I just moved without thinking. After hearing my name on that call, my body acted before my mind caught up. She went straight to her office. Well, technically the grad student workspace she shared, but it didn't matter. I slipped in a few minutes after she left, telling myself I just wanted to see if anything made sense. But when I opened her laptop and saw the document titled Thesis, full draft, my heart started pounding so hard I could barely breathe. I wasn't supposed to open it. I knew that. But something deeper told me I had to. The moment I clicked it open, everything stopped. I recognized the writing style. Clean, organized, clinical. But what froze me wasn't the tone. It was the name of the research subject printed at the top of the page. Not Participant A, not Anonymous Subject, my full name. Staring back at me like a spotlight, the room suddenly felt too small, too bright, too cold. Every paragraph I skimmed felt like someone peeling back my skin. She documented everything. My habits, my patterns, my insecurities. Things I didn't even know she noticed. I kept scrolling even though it hurt. Each section got worse. She had been tracking my reactions for months, analyzing my behavior like I wasn't a person. Just a pattern she needed to understand. Every time I'd cried to her, every time I'd opened up, she had written it down. At one point, the words blurred together, and for a second I couldn't even breathe. I felt sick. Betrayal didn't even touch what this was. It felt like being dissected. I didn't hear the door open until it clicked shut behind me. I didn't need to look to know who it was. My whole body went still. Lena's footsteps were soft but unmistakable. For a moment, neither of us spoke. I couldn't even turn around. Then she exhaled, slow, shaky, and said my name like a question and an apology at the same time. My hands clenched. The screen still showed my name. Her research, her betrayal. I finally turned to face her. For the first time since all of this started, she didn't look composed. She looked scared. Of me, of what I'd seen, of what she couldn't hide anymore. My voice shook when I asked why. She didn't answer right away. She just stared at me with eyes that weren't cold or calculating anymore. They were desperate. And that scared me more than anything, because part of me wasn't sure if she regretted what she'd done, or just regretted getting caught. Maybe to a number. About. I don't remember leaving the building. One moment I was staring at Lena, and the next I was outside. The cold air hitting my face so hard, it felt like waking up from a nightmare. Everything inside me felt cracked open. I kept hearing the words from her thesis. My name, my reactions, my emotions turned into data. I wanted to scream, cry, run, something. Instead, I just walked, trying to make sense of a friendship that suddenly felt like a lie. Every memory replayed differently now, and none of them felt safe anymore. I ended up in Professor Alden's office without even planning to go there. I didn't know who else to talk to. Who else would understand how wrong this was? When he looked up and saw my face, the concern was instant. I told him everything in pieces, my voice shaking, and he didn't interrupt once. When I finally finished, he leaned back slowly, like he was trying to hold the weight of something heavy. And then he told me the part I wasn't ready for. What Lena did wasn't just wrong. It was unethical. He told me I wasn't overreacting. He told me I had every right to feel violated. Hearing those words made my chest tighten, like I'd been holding my breath for days without noticing. But it also made the fear sharper. If even he thought it was serious, then what was I supposed to do next? I didn't want to ruin Lena's future. I just wanted my life back. My trust, my privacy, my dignity. I wanted to stop feeling like a specimen in someone else's story. In someone else's story. When I left his office, the hallway felt too quiet, too long, too empty. I wasn't angry anymore. I was tired. So tired, I felt hollow. I kept replaying Lena's face in my head, the way she froze when she saw me at her laptop. She didn't look like someone who accidentally crossed a line. She looked like someone who knew she'd been caught. And that hurt even more than the thesis itself, because she could have told me. She could have trusted me. Instead, she used me. Shame enough, She used me. By the time I got back to my dorm, everything inside me felt numb. I didn't cry. I didn't talk. I didn't even change out of my clothes. I just sat on my bed and stared at the wall, wondering how long she'd been doing this, wondering why I didn't see it sooner, wondering if I'd ever trust anyone the same way again. The truth felt like poison, slow and quiet, spreading through every part of me, and the worst part was knowing the next step couldn't be avoided. I had to confront her. No more excuses, no more trying to protect her feelings. This time, I had to protect mine. I didn't sleep. Not even for a minute. By morning, my head felt heavy, but my chest felt sharper, like the exhaustion made the truth clearer instead of softer. I kept replaying everything she wrote about me, every line, every interpretation, every moment she twisted into data. By the time I reached the empty classroom we agreed to meet in, my hands wouldn't stop shaking. I wasn't scared of her. I was scared of what she'd say. Scared she'd justify it in a way that made me feel small again. Lena walked in slowly, like she wasn't sure she was allowed to. She shut the door behind her as if closing us into a world where only the truth existed now. For once, she wasn't composed. Her eyes were unsettled, her breathing uneven. She whispered my name, but I didn't answer. I wanted her to talk first. I wanted to hear what reason she could possibly give for turning me into a project. And when she finally opened her mouth, the first thing she said wasn't an explanation. It was, "Please, let me explain." And somehow, that made the anger burn hotter. She started talking fast, too fast, like she was trying to put out a fire with words. She said she needed a subject she trusted, someone consistent, someone honest. She said she never meant to hurt me, but every excuse felt like another knife twisting deeper. I told her she should ask, that I would have said no, that she took away my choice and turned me into something I never agreed to be. Her face crumpled when I said that, and for the first time she didn't look like the confident, brilliant student everyone admired. She looked lost. Somewhere in the middle of her excuses, something inside me snapped. I told her exactly how it felt. How violating, how humiliating, how deeply it cut to know. She recorded my reactions like they were just part of her assignment. She didn't fight back. She didn't defend herself. She just stood there, taking every word, eyes breaking piece by piece. When I finally stopped talking, the silence was loud. She whispered that she thought I was strong enough to handle it. And that sentence alone showed me how little she understood me. In the end, she said she was sorry. Not in the polished way she usually speaks. This time it was broken, real. But the truth was bigger than an apology. Something between us had shattered, and no amount of regret could glue it back together. I told her I needed space, maybe a lot of it. She nodded slowly, eyes full of something that almost looked like fear. As I walked out of the classroom, I didn't look back. I didn't need to. I already knew this wasn't the end of her guilt, but it was the beginning of my freedom. The days after the confrontation felt strangely quiet. Not peaceful, just quiet in a way that made my thoughts louder. I kept waiting for anger to come back, or for the pain to hit the same way it did before. But instead, I felt something else. Distance. Like I was finally stepping back far enough to see things clearly. Lena didn't text. She didn't call. She didn't try to find me on campus. And for the first time in a long time, her silence didn't scare me. It gave me room to breathe. Noah didn't push me to talk. He just sat with me during lunch like usual. Except this time he didn't joke around or try to distract me. He just stayed close, solid and patient. I didn't realize how much I needed that. When I told him I confronted Lena, he just nodded and said, "Good." One word, but it felt like support, wrapped in certainty. I wasn't alone. I had people who cared without needing to study me to understand. When Professor Alden called me in again, I expected more questions or some kind of official process. Instead, he asked how I was holding up. Not as a subject, not as a case, just as a person. That alone made me feel steadier. He told me Lena had come to him too. She admitted everything. And she'd accepted whatever consequences came next. Hearing that should have made me feel better. But it only reminded me of everything we lost. Still, it felt like closure. Like a chapter slowly shutting. I didn't see Lena until the end of the week. We didn't speak. We didn't even get close. She just passed by me near the entrance of the library, moving slowly like she wasn't sure she belonged there anymore. Our eyes met for half a second, and in that moment I saw everything. The guilt, the regret, the choices she couldn't undo. I didn't look away. She didn't either. But neither of us tried to fix anything. Some things aren't meant to be fixed. They're meant to be left behind so you can grow past them. That night, for the first time since everything happened, I felt something close to peace. Not because things were perfect. They weren't. But because I finally chose myself. I chose my boundaries, my voice, my safety. And that choice felt like a door opening. Maybe one day I'll forget how deeply this hurt. Maybe I won't. But either way, I'm done being someone's silent subject. This time, the story is mine, and I get to decide what happens next.